I got this all cleaned up, and what I did here is I put epoxy on these wells here and here and here. This is two-part epoxy, here and a little bit right there, so it would seal, because sometimes these little plugs that are in here, they tend to leak a little bit, and then no matter what you can do here, if it drips out of there, then your car is going to run rough. But what I do here too is after I clean it, I take a little wire and I poke it in all these holes, all these places, to make sure that everything is clean, because you can dip this in here and clean it out and it'll look clean, but if there's some crap in one of these things here and plugs it up, a new kit's not going to help. So what I do is I make sure I clean this out with a wire, all these little passageways, and then blow it out really good right after I soak it, and I even spray some carburetor cleaner in there to make sure it comes out of the other end. I'm really going to put the bottom part on, and what I do is I make sure I compare the two gaskets, make sure they're the same as the old one. Then we just put the bottom on, like so. These two screws that fit on this bottom plate are with a Phillips head. Now we can put these needle valves in. What I usually do is turn them in all the way to the end. And then put about 2 turns. 1, 2 and a half. And that way when we start the engine, we'll be able to turn them down to adjust them. Now I'm going to put these these 2 jets, and they belong right in here, one there and one there. We're going to put that ball back in with that special little screw there. And it goes right in there. Now we're going to put the float and the seat, everything back in. They give you a little new kit here with a new needle, the seat, and a washer, and a tiny little spring to hook the seat on. This is the tiny little spring here. You have to hook to the top of the seat here, this needle. Like that. Then you put this new needle seat in with the washer. Then you hook the needle here, just like that. Then you look on the sheet to see what kind of engine you're putting it on, and you measure it, make sure the float is right. According to this engine, this is supposed to be set at about 3/8. So you go from the top of the float to the top of the carburetor. Which is set about right. You put this plastic cover in. Then we put the spring in here. Got to be careful with these little things, they're pretty delicate. These metering rods. This one is a little more difficult because it's got this cover goes right to here. Some other covers just go to here, and it's easy to put these in. But this one a little more difficult. But once you get it in, you kind of push this here in. This little plastic thing, and it kind of snaps in there, and it holds that in there. And this has to go pretty freely, like this. In the kit they give you a new auxiliary pump here, but you have to take this spring off and this little thing and put it on here. There you mount that spring and that little catch on here, and that'll go in here. Now the choke assembly, you take this screw out on the inside here. Take this out and put a new seal in there. Then you can put this back. Put this screw back in. There. Now you put this new plastic thing in here. And this new seal goes in here. This thing goes on here. And then this goes back in here. And this screw fits in there. Now to get this cable in here for the choke, you gotta I just catch this screw a little bit inside here, and I put this down there. And you have to just get this in there right. And then you push this in, and there it is. Now you tighten this screw before it goes all out of whack again. Make sure your linkage here is all working. Okay. Now we can tighten this nicely. There. Now the rest of the choke just goes on here. You have to hook this thing on here, this little hook on here. It's got to go on to this little thing here. Oops. I forgot to put the gasket in first. And then they give you 3 little clips here, new clips. And we'll leave it there and adjust it when we put it on the engine. There, for now that's good. Hook this back on. But now I think we're ready to put the gasket on. Make sure that you have the right gasket, because they usually give you a couple different ones for different carburetors. So you got to match it up with yours. And make sure all the holes match up. There's a little split there, which has got to go underneath this thing. Like that. And don't forget this little plastic thing in there. I just put just a tiny bit of lithium grease down here. I forgot to put this baffle plate right in here. That's where that goes. So I'll just lift this up a bit. Now we'll make sure we got everything in there, and we can put the top on. Then I put this spring in here, and I put this in. Like that. Okay, now 2 long screws go at the back. Two special screws, the beveled screws, go inside here, and the rest of them are all the same size. There's a little plate that goes on here. Okay, now we're going to hook up this choke here. Now we can put this accelerator pump bracket linkage on. Goes in there, up like this, and this went in the second one there. And you just got to work it in there so you push that pin back. There it is. Okay, now we can put these metering tubes in. And then the tiny little screw. We can put the curb idle setting. And what I do with the choke off, I just touch it so it just touches, and then I just give it another turn or so. This thing just slips in here and down there. Then we put this plug back in. we need it later for some vacuum things. We can take it out. There's a filter that goes in here first, then the spring, but right now I don't have a filter, so I'm just going to put this in like this. And I think that's it.